Hello friends and welcome back. So we're going to be doing another mod review today. Today we are going to be reviewing Beyond the Veil. This is a sequel to The Veil itself. So my right out of the gate suggestion for anyone is if you have not played The Veil, I would not suggest getting this because it will be a rather incoherent story without playing that first mod. If you don't care about an incoherent story and just want fun gameplay, this does have a fair amount of fun gameplay. This creation is a total of 400 credits in the creation store. It took me a little over 2 hours to complete and has 3 points of interest. Unlike the other creations by this author, this does not have a companion, but that's probably why it also has the cheaper price tag. But where you pick up this quest, if you do happen to get this mod, is in the mast building. In the orientation hall, you will find a man named David that will give you the quest, and I'll just show you the intro because it's going to roll right into our voice acting discussion here.
Fascinating, isn't it? The end of one world, the beginning of another. Cycles within cycles. Like the turning pages in a book no one remembers writing. I was wondering when you would come. Not that you were looking for me, of course. We so rarely search for the things we truly need. And yet, here we are.
As we can see from this mod author, we yet again are getting some absolutely stellar voice acting from the voice actors itself. Beautifully written. It carries that that sci-fi mystery feeling almost. But there is a lot I love about the voice acting. David is going to be the main character of this quest. For voice acting wise, compared to Everbright and The Veil, this is a little bit on the lighter side, but it's going to be a little bit heavier on the gameplay side. But there is some more voice acting I do wish to share with you. There's some strangely familiar character in here that I absolutely loved, even though it was a very brief interaction. I still love how he kind of tied a character into the Starfield universe.
Ah, my friend, welcome! Welcome! You are now standing in the greatest private collection of rare and extremely valuable artifacts in the known universe, and also other things. Look around, marvel at history itself. Once you have properly admired my treasures, come find me. I am sure we have much to discuss, my friend.
If you didn't catch it, that guy was strangely familiar and seemed a lot like the collector in the main quest. This was a very nice touch that I enjoyed that the author actually did incorporate into the story and kind of like tie the story itself into like the Starfield universe. But the author of this actually does a very great job of using Colon's voice from the Veil, basically as because he's telepathic and he's able to communicate with the player. He does a wonderful job of triggering voice acting at key moments while you're going through these points of interest to kind of create a little bit of drama. I guess is how you would say it. But it does set the mood very well for these points of interest. So you'll have moments where the main antagonist of the story, Colon, is bringing his voice in telepathically and communicating with the player. I'm going to go ahead and share one of those moments here because I think it does set the mood very well in a lot of these points of interest. And the mod author did a very good job, and the voice acting is kind of like really spot on. It just does it really well.
Everything okay, Dan?
You are an anomaly. Unique in ways I did not expect. Perhaps I have underestimated you. That will not happen again.
that moment there kind of really sets the mood when you're kind of like creeping through a point of interest like this, and you get that kind of creepy voice coming over. But as you probably picked up, this is a direct sequel to The Veil. Colon is going to be the main antagonist of the story. And this is going to kind of conclude the story of the Mendori, etc. And it's going to allow a little bit of player choice to kind of choose how you do conclude this, which I absolutely enjoyed. One thing that I am going to make note of is I did this entire quest with Emily Archer as my companion. That is the companion from The Veil. Now, I cannot blame the mod author for this, but she does not have any voice acting, and that is due to the roles of the creation store itself. Modders are only allowed to basically reference, the mod they're working on, and the Starfield like main file. They can't reference other mods, in particular when they're putting up a paid creation. One thing I would have loved to see is if he would have put out like a patch to bridge Emily Archer and give her like at least like a handful of lines for this, because that would have made this quest mod substantially better. Now I know that would kind of like bring up like, oh, that's going to break people's achievements and stuff, but for people like me, like I don't really particularly care about achievements. I care about playing a fun game. Digital trophies are kind of secondary to that, and I think that would have made it a lot more enjoyable experience if there was a patch that just offered like a handful of lines for Emily Archer to kind of have her move along the story as well with you, and would have given it a lot more interesting dynamic because she played such an important role in The Veil. It just felt like it was missing without that. Partially Bethesda's fault, partially the author. Like the author could have put out a separate patch. I know people would have complained about the achievement friendly flag, but with the current rules within the creation store, like what can you do? They're not like, if you want to make a sequel to a mod, you cannot reference the original mod and charge money for it. So that's kind of sucks. I mean, I guess voice your opinion to Bethesda on that. Like, I'm sure that they could put in some kind of like exception policy for that. It makes sense, because like there could be like a whole mess of problems if people start referencing other mods on paid mods. But I think there probably could be like some kind of like exception system that mod authors could put in like an exception, like, hey, I want to reference this mod for story purposes, and be able to do it. But we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about some new enemy combatants that are introduced in this particular creation, the Mendori. So you get to fight a couple Mendori, and my god, they do hit hard, and they're very high level as well. So I was level 90 doing this, but they were basically, when I was going up against them, I was running into level 150, and they hit freaking hard as hell. But let's take a little bit of a look at the footage itself. So fairly interesting, combat there with the Mendori. They didn't actually hit me in that scene, but they will typically, they would take me down to like almost death after about 2 hits. Very challenging, but we're going to talk a little bit about these points of interest. So there's 3 points of interest in here the mod author is very heavily recycling. Well, I wouldn't say very heavily. He's recycling points of interest from the main game, changing up the layout, the look, the design itself, and recluttering them. So you might not recognize this, but this was the UC Star Station from the Crimson Fleet quest that you have to like go in and get the comm spike. The mod authors kind of like redesigned the layout a good bit and recluttered it. Now this is something that I've complimented the mod author for numerous times, because this is just a quick way of being able to produce a lot of content, and most people are not going to be able to recognize this place. Now I've done the Crimson Fleet quest probably like 10 times now, so of course I recognize it, but he did a very good job of changing the layout, reusing this point of interest, but making it fresh and new, which is going to be kind of like a struggle to make things fresh and new, but also recycle. This is going to save a lot of time in development, but also, be able to fluff out content, because making things from scratch, it's just going to, it'll take a long time to develop. I do praise authors when they do that. I think, who is it? Mad Monkey, the what does he do? He does Forgotten Frontiers. He makes awesome POIs. But these are very good POIs in their own right. He's just borrowing from Bethesda's own creations, changing things up, changing out the layout, recluttering things, to make basically new points of interest. But we're going to go ahead and kind of move on to the next point of interest and talk about that. So in this point of interest, this was originally the research station from the side quest Ground Pounder. It takes place in Altier 2, but the mod authors changed this up a fair amount, where the layout's been changed up a good bit. Also, how the player paths through this point of interest as well has been changed. So instead of, I believe in Ground Pounder, you kind of like start at the bottom, go up, and then go down. This, you start at the top and just go straight down to the bottom. One thing that I did find very interesting about this was he kind of has like a little hide and seek puzzle, which was very enjoyable. Basically, you have to shut off this machine that's sending out this signal from Colon, like some kind of mind control signal. And you basically need to find some shut-off switches to like the power supply so you can shut down this device that's sending out this signal. And it was a lot of fun because you had to like basically search the point of interest to find these switches, which they blend in with the scenery very well. They don't like stick out like a sore thumb. They kind of look like something that would just be a piece of clutter, basically a switch on the wall. But it was a lot of fun getting that kind of like little puzzle involved as well. And it was also fun seeing one of my favorite points of interest, this research station from Ground Pounder, rehashed in a new way. And it made it a lot of fun, very challenging, difficult combat, and then when you do occasionally run across the Mendori, it gets very intense because, like I said before, they will actually kill you in quick order if you don't act fast and like kind of use starborn powers to control them, so they can't like, kill you in 3 shots. So I'll say like right now I'm running Darkstar, so I'm probably a little bit less spongy than other people. So I think other people might find this a little bit more challenging, where they'll probably drop in like 1 to 2 hits instead of 3 hits. But this was a very difficult, very fun, challenging point of interest, and I like the rehash of basically one of my favorite points of interest in Starfield, which is the research station from Ground Pounder. I really enjoyed that quest, and I liked seeing this point of interest kind of get rehashed. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the final point of interest, which is a larger point of interest. But we're going to talk about it in a little bit of detail. So this next point of interest has a large exterior to it. At the section basically that you can kind of go through, a lot of enemy combatants in the exterior part, a fair amount of set pieces. This part of this point of interest I can tell is completely custom. Like, I didn't see this anywhere else. It doesn't look like it's a redesigned, recycled part of anything. So it looks as though the mod author kind of like created this from scratch. He might have taken, a few buildings here and there and reuse them, but for the most part, everything on the exterior, this does look very custom. There's a lot of consideration to level design. We're not going to see it in this clip, but like up ahead, there are like, you can see it a little bit. There's ramps and catwalks and stuff. So there's a fair amount of consideration to level design when, as he's building this out here, and giving this like kind of a little bit of a level design to it where it's fun to play through instead of just like, hey, just clear out these guys. Because I know that can be a little bit of a struggle for some modders to actually consider level design, and you'll get like straight hallways and stuff. We don't have that here, so there's a lot of obstruction to line of sight, etc., catwalks, everything here. And I'd like to point out that nice, it looks like a water tower. That's a nice set piece. Like, it kind of like drew my attention in the middle of combat. I kind of wanted to look at it. I did explore it. It is just a set piece. There is nothing going on there, but very interesting to put that there. It's something to kind of like draw the eyes, etc., and make this seem more like an actual place that like people were inhabiting and there was stuff going on at. Would have loved it if he maybe like put an Easter egg on top of the water tower. That would have been cool to do. That's always something cool to do for like mod authors to do. But now we're going to get into the interior of this. This was a very dark interior point of interest. There are Mendori here. There's a lot of enemy combatants. Very challenging, difficult combat. There was even a couple terramorphs thrown in as well to kind of like surprise the player. They crawl up from the ground. Very cool. Very awesome level design. I love the darkness of it because you're trying to sneak through here and you don't want to put on your flashlight because that's just going to alert everyone to where you're at. So it does make the playthrough a little bit more difficult with how dark everything is. Not to mention the Mendori themselves are kind of like dressed all in black, so it is like darn near impossible to spot them in the dark here. You can kind of see them a little bit when they're using their flashlights, but otherwise basically impossible to see, and extremely challenging because if they get a couple hits on you, you can go down and have to restart all over again. Can be rather challenging, but I did absolutely enjoy this like final point of interest. Presented a lot of challenging combat. So if I was going to say gameplay wise, I think this of the three mods I tried from this mod author, The Veil, Beyond the Veil, and Everbright, I think this one actually offers the most challenging combat of the three. It's also the lightest on storytelling. There are inner missions between each of the points of interest where there's a little bit of dialogue, a little bit of exposition to kind of move the story along. But this one definitely had the most difficult, challenging gameplay. A lot of fun with the gameplay is what I would have to say. It was a lot of fun. It's very heavy gameplay driven mod itself. Does have a little bit of storytelling in it to kind of move along the gameplay, so it's just not entirely gameplay, but rather enjoyable here. I think we're going to move on here. This is one thing I want to talk about is set pieces again. So we have this giant cavern that we're basically walking into. There's going to be like a music chime, which kind of nice little touch, adding the music chime to kind of heighten the intensity of walking into this huge open cavernous cave that we're walking into, and we kind of like see this mysterious device whirling and spinning. Very cool. Rather thoroughly enjoyed this itself. I think next up we are going to be talking about bugs and defects that I experienced. One you can kind of see right now is like I'm getting like a little bit of a sparkly effect. I believe that was from the Mendori. That sparkly effect, it lingered on me until I cleared my mod cache and reloaded up, and it disappeared. But here we have another one. So after the main fight, the main enemy got stuck in a downed position and would not continue. This I was able to clear simply by just walking away and walking back. Basically, you just need to break combat. See, like I went to stealth there, I was still in combat. That was me kind of like checking that. And I was still in combat, looked around, no other enemies. So what do? I just walked away. After about 50 feet, the combat cleared, walked back over, was able to do kind of like the final dialogue of the whole entire quest. So those are the two bugs I experienced. One was those little sparkly effects, which were fixed by me clearing my reserve space. I'll put a link to a video that I did a little while back on how to, well, I covered it in that video. It was more of how to uninstall mods properly using the Unity, but I did cover how to clear your mod cache and then restore your load order, which it takes like a total of 5 minutes, and you can fix most defects that way. So I was able to fix that little sparkly effect that was on my character really quickly doing that. Like I said, it was a total of 5 minutes to do that. And the other thing I experienced was Colon was in that down position, and combat was stuck. I don't know if I can blame that on the mod author, because I've had that happen in vanilla Starfield, namely Paxton Hall. That's happened with me when I've done that quest before. Same solution. I just walk away and then walk back, and the combat's broken, and I can engage the dialogue. But I think we're going to go ahead and summarize, this whole entire mod. This mod, it's, what do you get? There is a 2-hour long quest, story driven. It's very heavy on the gameplay side of things, and it concludes the Veil storyline. So there's that. If you've done the Veil storyline and you want it to be concluded, Beyond the Veil is a logical purchase. Total $4. It's 2 hours of gameplay. I'd say it is a very satisfactory conclusion, because it kind of leaves it up to the player's hand on how to kind of conclude the storyline itself. Very enjoyable. I think my only gripe would be I wish Emily Archer had a couple voice dialogues for this quest, because it kind of seemed missing, to say the least. So if I was going to say anything, it would be nice to get like a patch for this that would allow Emily Archer to add her 2 cents here and there on this particular quest, and that probably would bring it up to like an 8 or a 9. I did have those 2 defects, but I was easily able to resolve those 2 issues that did pop up, so I didn't really spend too much time on that. But overall, if I was going to give this a rating, 7.5 out of 10, I enjoyed it. I don't feel like I got ripped off. Normally when I get a story quest, basically I'm expecting, for a $5 purchase of a story quest, I'm expecting at least 90 minutes of gameplay. And I feel that that is a fair deal. It definitely met that. The combat and the gameplay was challenging and difficult. The story was good. It was enthralling. I maybe like a little bit more story and a little bit less gameplay, or maybe a little bit more story. That could have been probably resolved with a patch and having Emily Archer just talk a little bit to kind of like flesh out the story a little bit. But you know, it's a very satisfactory story. I do like how they left it up for player choice. But yeah, that's basically it. I rather thoroughly enjoyed this. You know, 7.5 out of 10, enjoyable, worth your money. I would definitely play it after the Veil, because you'll end up with like an incoherent story if you just play it in isolation. But you can play it in isolation. It's the Veil is not a requirement for this, so it's more than fine that you, if you wanted to, you could purchase this. Just know you're going to miss the prequel to it, and you kind of won't know what's going on with the story. Very heavy in gameplay. What else is there to say? Load order wise, I placed this after the Veil because it said it took place after the Veil. Note, you if you're it worked perfectly fine with me. There are no load order instructions, but just place it with your other story mods and you should be fine. If you have the Veil, just put it like right after the Veil, and if the Veil's running fine, this will run fine. But everything worked pretty good. Couple defects, was easily able to correct them, but I think I'm going to end up the video right here. I do appreciate you guys, and like always, enjoy your night.